Well, ladies and gentlemen, boom, there we go. What the hell time is it? I hate to tell you guys, I have to stream in a couple of hours, so I might have to get going here soon. I didn't even know there was a 9:30 at night anymore. Honestly, that's how old I am. Welcome to the show. We are called Gamercast. There's two more chaps that I'm going to bring in here. This is a show trying to confirm the date of the last time we recorded, but to my recollection, it was 2017 when the original Switch came out, was the last time, I think, that the three of us were together. Now, you know my brother. Let's bring him in first, but you might not know my other good pal. So let's bring in this dude, Rob McCallum, ladies and gentlemen, also known as the Big Tiff. We need intro music.
Who's
Do you
out
think
there?
I'm allowed to play
Who's
like
watching?
Motorhead's like the game? Do you think I get flagged for that?
Probably. I think you get called out for that. You got to
What
find the
if
knockoff version.
What if I sing it? Oh yeah, I just play the chords backwards. That's it.
Or speed it up 1.5% or whatever that crazy hack is.
Okay, so you have Gamercast, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is our old video game podcast. Did you find our last recording? Was it 2017?
The last one I found was in 2016, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a 2017 one out there.
Sure.
Of course, there was the special pseudo Gamercast that we recorded for N64 Quest on the special edition discs as well. But
I remember.
You're correct. We said we were going to take a little break, and it turned out being an entire generation of video games that we said we're good.
we're going to take some time off here.
We are such Nintendo fans. We're not going to talk once during their big resurgence and their biggest selling console ever. We're going to.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have a very special announcement courtesy of Rob McCallum that we're going to save for near the end of the show. But before we get to that,
big news.
We like big news. Before we get to that, before we get to the lovely chat, we're going to introduce the third member of Gamercast, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Glenn Stanway, who's on mute. There we go.
Oh wow, am I in? I'm in the industry now.
Let's go, Glenn! Big wizard.
What's going on, gentlemans?
You got to get louder. It's nighttime, man. Louder. What's up, dude? Coffee's kicking in. Here we go. All right.
Yeah,
feeling good.
I'm getting the caffeine too. I apologize. It is way past my bedtime too. But you know what? This is about growth, and this is about learning and transforming into something better as a community. So I'm here for it.
Aye.
This is about you guys being ready for bed while the sun is still out high in the sky for me.
Glenn, you are on a different part of the planet. You are in the past. You're living literally in the past, but that's okay, dude. Welcome. How you doing?
He was from here. Now he's there, but it was a great time when he was here, but he's there.
And it's up to the chat. You guys can guess where you think Glenn lives. I'll give you a hint. It's not here. Anyway.
And it's still sunny according to his windows.
Who's got this crown? Cutthroat Comics has the crown, and he says, I'm not getting a Switch 2. It's too much money. I wait until they bring down the price, not falling for it, Nintendo. Den of Geek is here. Good evening. Almost said good morning. Matt Tracker Ruben is here. Good to see you, dude. Raj the Rainmaker. Look at this guy with the party emotes. What's up, brother? Nathan. We know a Nathan Salyer.
Yeah,
doesn't sound familiar.
He's a villain that we know all too well.
Wife doesn't know it, but I'm getting one. He says, "What's up, dude? Good to see you here. It's time to wake up." Says,
she's watching with him.
Jay's bedtime, and we got Stacy. Good to see you, my friend. Average Gamer is here. Packers. Look at this guy in the house. Look at this dude. Nice and early. Oh, someone's getting warmer. Anyway,
what?
It's good theory.
Good theory. Willie Lowe, our good partner in crime. Love your face, Glenn.
Oh, thanks, Will.
Willie Lowe.
Here's you, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm going to attempt to fill Rob's shoes this time around. On I guess this would be our second season, maybe, or third, whatever. I want to know 2 games that you cannot live without. Glenn Stanway. 2 games you cannot live without. Chat, let's hear yours too.
This
2 games I
icebreaker
can't live
brought
without.
to you
You're gonna
Two
start
by
with
games
me.
you cannot live without. They don't have to be. I'm not going to say anymore. 2 games you can't live without. Chat, let's hear yours.
Icebreaker brought to you by Nintendo 64 Quest. Available today at Nintendo64Quest.com.
All right, Rob. 2 games you can't live without.
2 games.
I have to
You
think
can't live
about
with
this.
No, think about it. That's the we're
No,
going to
no
put you on the
thinking.
spot.
Just saying. Don't think. Give answers that don't have any thought behind them. I don't think I could live without Final Fantasy for the NES and NHL 96.
All right, G, you're up.
Link to the Past is probably one because that's one I just continuously keep going back to. Maybe Super Metroid. That's very SNES centric, but those are probably 2 of the more honest answers.
You're wearing is that a Metroid shirt? You're wearing?
This is in
Looks
fact a
like-
Metroid ship. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Can tell how
I
this
cannot
thing-
live without Resident Evil and Vice City. Oh, big whoop, Jay. We already know that. All right. Anyone else?
Had to-
Willie,
had to
let's hear your
represent the big show.
the really big show.
Oh my God. Look at this comment. Balatro. That's a game I can't live without right now for sure.
LL Cool Games. What is going on, my friend? Good to see you. Currently, I can't live without Balatro, and Joust was one of my OG favorites. Nice. Thank you for hanging out. I have a feeling we're going to see a bit of a different crowd at night, which is cool. I like that. It's good to expand. All right. Well, June 5th, 2025 is another landmark. I don't know. Would you count it as a next generation? Is this a next generation? It's a new Nintendo. I don't know if it's necessarily graphically, at least, a next generation. How much have you
next
seen?
generation? What is the next generation? Because we're getting like mid-generation upgrades with the the PS5 Pro.
Well, those are mid upgrades, but we're talking like.
Well,
when
isn't the
PlayStation
Switch 2
6
kind of a mid upgrade, really?
Well, I mean, they've been mid upgrading for a while. It seems they keep getting
Exactly
just
what
a
we
little
took
bit,
8 years
a little bit. But I wanted to talk about this for a long time. This whole episode, by the way, is going to be dedicated to the Switch 2, and we want to hear what you guys have to say as well. Who's getting a Switch 2? I put in the poll. 41% said me on June 5th, which is the release date. Glenn, are you surprised at the June 5th release date this year?
That is so soon? That is a little bit surprising, to be totally honest. Yeah. This modern Nintendo that likes to drop stuff on us with very little to no warning is pretty fun, and I'm enjoying the gong show they like to create by doing that. Just as a follow up on the next generation thing, I just we're definitely in the stage of the game industry now where what you're seeing are incremental differences from console to console, right? Like it's beyond that big ticket screenshot of the graphics that were going to blow you away and just completely change your life. Screenshots don't do anything much for me anymore, really. The money is in what's the game look like in motion, what's the frame rate, what are the effects like, what's the lighting like, how many enemies on screen do I have? That's where the money is, and I think in that respect Switch 2 certainly seems like it's going to deliver. And I think if you see the difference between something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom running on Switch 2 versus running on Switch, like it really stands out how much better that game looks.
Right.
So
and Rob, you've been on the road for the last couple of weeks, so all the Switch 2 stuff is brand new to you, which is great to have your fresh opinion on this. What do you think of the June 5th release date?
I like it. Can't remember a console dropping before summer holidays. I think that's a little gutsy. Usually they like to do mid to late summer, early September, building towards that fourth quarter or somewhere in the second quarter. So you have that runway leading up to a big summer launch title that wasn't maybe part of like the initial drop, like kind of like the first title outside of launch. So I think it's gutsy, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Pinky, no new Zelda. Well, we got what's it called?
No, we got two new Zelda games,
or
right?
whatever it's called. What's it called? No, not Triforce Warriors. What's it called? Hyrule Warriors. Yeah, we got the Imprisoning Wars, which is a Tears prequel, I guess. But I mean, it's just Dynasty Warriors. Yeah, it's not a true Zelda. What's up, Ned? How you doing, buddy? Mo is here. Your birthday is June 15th. There you go. It's calling to you. It's calling to you.
Make it so.
Okay. So let's get into all this here. I got a bunch of stuff to go over. We're just going to start right at Nintendo's website, which is the easiest. Let's check out all the features, everything we can look at for the Switch here. So here it is. Now, let's get everyone's thoughts in the chat. Okay, so we see this before the big unveil, like a couple weeks ago or whatever. What do you guys think of the system almost looking identical to the original? Glenn, what do you think? Were you expecting something different? Did you think there was going to be a Switch 2, or do you think we were going to see something completely different?
No, everything that had sort of leaked out before the actual official announcement seemed to indicate that you were going to see something that was iterative, right? I didn't expect them to reinvent the wheel. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I think some of the changes they did make are pretty awesome. I'm a big fan of the concept of the magnetic Joy-Cons. As somebody who really hates that stupid rail and latch that you have to use with the current one, I think it's a really cool idea. I know there's some consternation that people are not quite getting the new control sticks that they were hoping to get, but hopefully they're a much improved stick, and that's going to reduce some of the issues a lot of people ran into with things like Joy-Con drift too. So we'll hopefully see, but it looks like it's making better use of the real estate for the screen, higher resolution screen as well. So and just little things, right? Like the kickstand on the back being not a flaky piece of plastic that's liable to break off. Lots of really nice incremental changes to a design that was honestly pretty solid to begin with, I think.
Okay, I'll interject after we hear from Zob here. Rob, were you shocked, surprised at all when they said it was Switch 2, even down to the name? Did you think it was going to be a completely brand new piece of hardware from Nintendo? They were going to do something they never did before, or what did you think when you heard Switch 2?
I think Nintendo was watching their history carefully and didn't want to fumble this one too much. They wanted to give everybody more of what they were expecting and what had literally worked for 8 years. So it didn't surprise me that it was another cup of the same coffee, just a fresher, stronger pot. The thing I'm disappointed. I like the magnetic controls. That's awesome too. I like the kickstand, so I completely agree with Glenn there. The thing that really surprised me though is they didn't launch with a bunch of different colors. That would have felt like a nice differentiator right away, a la N64, or even just the white Switch that came out, just so that it felt different. It just looked different. As for the name, I know it's a little lazy. We've never seen a number incremental thing that feels very PlayStation. Does it matter? No.
What I meant more was that we were getting more or less the same design as opposed to a brand new system. That's what I meant, really.
Yeah, I just know that there's a giant 2 on it, which kind of detracts for me.
Yeah, so there it is, and we could see all the family playing this. Now, these are my initial thoughts. Since the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X came out, the difference in graphics between the 4 and the 5, let's just say for PlayStation, is so minimal to me. And I'm not talking about technical specs because we're going to get under the hood of this thing soon. But just the way that the visuals look to the naked eye, I'm good with it not getting any more real. So the fact that this doesn't look graphically any more impressive, other than perhaps frames and maybe draw distance from the original Switch, I'm fine with that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want Mario and Zelda to look real anyway. So I'm kind of fine with that. Even if PlayStation and Xbox stay where they are, I think we're at a good spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the Switch's big success was ease of development, from what I can understand. How welcoming that is for third-party developers to get their content on there and bring previous generation games forward with a nice little shellacking upgrade. Of course, the downside to being friendly to develop for is the amount of shovelware that's constantly on that, and it seems like they're really addressing that with their developer program. So we'll see how that rolls out in contrast to what's on the system. But I agree, gaming is at a point where it's less about the tech specs and the motor underneath the hood. It's more about what does the game do and how fun is it, with fun being an immersive experience.
I think
had go ahead.
Sorry, Jay. I was just going to say,
Nope.
coming back to the point I made earlier, yeah, you're seeing incremental differences in graphics from generation to generation at this point. It's the small things, the little things that kind of add up to make something better. So like one of the big things about Switch 2 that is exciting to me is the HDR support. You look at the kind of art style that most Nintendo games have. It's very bright, it's very cartoony, very colorful. Games like that are really, really pop on the right kind of TV with that kind of support added in. So it's small things like that, I think, that will add up to really kind of make it more than the sum of its parts.
Okay, I don't like portable games, so I'm not really super jazzed that this is almost the exact same design. The mouse functionality on the Joy-Cons, we'll have to see it in motion. I'm not poo-pooing it right now. Doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Honestly, with this, with the PlayStation, with the Xbox, with Steam, with anything, I just want good games. Okay, so we were shown Mario Kart World, which is, I guess, an open world Mario Kart. I've seen some people have had early access and got to play it. I don't want to skip over this though. We there was something up here. What do you guys think of this? Say hello to Game Chat. I chuckled when I watched the live. Not to make fun of Nintendo, but it's like, dude, you should have had this in like 2005. Like I remember my 360 having a camera and a headset. You know what I mean? It's like, well, now we can
feel like it's not quite there somehow.
It's not.
The whole
Yeah,
idea of
right.
community interaction and engagement is still somehow missing the mark. I mean, that camera, like, really, why can't we just use like any third-party camera? Like, what is so unique about Nintendo's camera?
You can
we use any third party?
Right?
Is there any limitations though with it? That's what I'd be curious about. And like how well does that microphone work if your Switch is 12 feet away? Like, is it crystal clear? Like, what is actually going on? So, like all of that.
It's supposed to be really clear. Glenn, I'll let you go in one sec. Yeah, it's supposed to, like they showed in the commercial, the tech demo, whatever you want to call it. That
they're not going to show a crappy version.
No, but there's like a mic built in, and even with noise going on in your kitchen or whatever, it's supposed to filter out all the background noise, which I think is cool. But I mean, PS5 does that. I mean, I just feel like they're showcasing that as like a giant improving feature. It's like, well, that's the very minimum that consoles should do. That's kind of the standard.
Nintendo has realized forever that nobody wants to talk to each other while gaming, and they're reluctantly putting it in there. That must have been the course of action. I mean, people don't want to talk to each other while gaming, do they? Okay, fine. 2025, we'll finally put a microphone in and a camera if you must see and talk to each other.
Well, there's got to be a way.
2025, Nintendo finally makes a big step towards talking with one another. Like, it's a big deal.
It's the friend code that kills me, dude. They gotta just come up with a gamer tag like Stadium Rob, something cool. Like
no,
not
we can't
like
escape the NES Metroid password system and approach
8 to 12 digit code to add. And we're playing Mario Kart on the channel on Friday, and I put my friend code in the Discord, and it was like, Jesus, like I felt like I was typing out a Metal Gear 1 code.
Change the save battery at some point too, just to make sure we stay connected to the Wi-Fi.
What is this we're seeing here? Again, this is just the very basics. This is just the Nintendo site. We're going to get into what's under the hood. Maybe we should, because that's the more interesting stuff.
Okay. Can I go back to the point about the mouse as a controller that you brought up, Jay? Of
course.
Like you, I'm not a handheld guy. I don't want to have a lap desk next to me or a mouse pad on my couch or chair. I think it's great that they want to incorporate that functionality, because God knows, trying to use an analog stick or a combination of analog stick to mouse over to something is a pain in the butt. But I don't know that the solution is the Joy-Con as a mouse, because you've got to have a table now set up to do that. So why can't they just, I don't know, like a stylus or something like a DS did? I feel like there's got to be something better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you're using this, right?
Yeah, I know.
That bottom is, I don't know, man. Again, I'm not going to slam it until I try it, but it doesn't feel it just feels bizarre. It feels like they're trying to get too much tech out of something this
And
tiny. I don't know.
like Switch 1, I hate using the Joy-Cons. I will be using a Pro controller or a third-party Pro controller and probably a third-party mouse if there is one, so it just feels better. Like I'm glad it's magnetic for that when we have to use those Joy-Con only games like Mario Party, because heaven forbid Mario Party just use a regular controller. But yeah.
So this
I
is
mean, if Super Nintendo can have a mouse, why can't this?
the website CNET. Shout out to CNET and David Lum, who wrote this article. So we're going to go through all the techs. Glenn, you have anything you wanted to add before we get down to the under the hood of this thing?
On the topic of the Joy-Con mouse, like Nintendo's always been the king of like adding the weird piece of functionality nobody asked for, and then like sometimes they strike gold, and you have something like the Wii where motion control just became the hottest thing on earth for like 2 years. And then other times you have disposable peripherals and things that just don't seem to make a lot of sense or people aren't going to choose to play with. And that's kind of where I'm at with the mouse functionality. Like as somebody who's a huge Metroid Prime fan, seeing that you can use the Joy-Con as a mouse to play that is not a sales pitch for me. Like that's not a way I'm going to interact with that game. So I'm kind of with Rob on that front.
It just seems tacked on. It feels like a Wii U kind of deal. Remember when they showed the Wii U, they showed the tablet, and they had the tablet on the ground. It was a golf game, and the tablet was the tee with the ball, and you were swinging the Wiimote. It felt like that. It's like they're trying to squeeze so much out of the technology.
God help me like if I have to blow into the microphone to have something happen in a Mario level on the Wii U.
That's where I say forget it. I'm not doing that. You had to do that in Nintendo.
It's like they were trying to come up with a counter argument, Jay, for you saying that the system looks too much the same. It's too similar in terms of how it's put together, and they were reaching for bullet points they could put on the box to sell you it as a new feature, right? It's like, oh, you can use your Joy-Con as a mouse now. Like, oh, okay.
I hope that they know that it just all that matters is the games, man. That's all I care about at this point. Because when we get this. Nobody uses the controller like this. This is where Rob says, I do all the time.
No, I said, I use the Pro controller.
Yeah, so you're going to get the Switch, which I think, okay, let's talk Canadian dollars. What is it, $4.49?
Yeah, it's like $6.59 or
$4.49 and $6.29 for the Mario Kart.
No, it's $6.29 for the base console, $6.99 for the Mario Kart bundle, Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think US maybe. Anyway, so you're gonna have to get the extra Pro controller, which is $10 extra from what I hear. We're gonna get into all that because that's where I see just endless streams of YouTube videos going through my feed about people are saying boycott Nintendo and this and that. So
I'm curious if you can use Switch 1 Pro controllers. I know it won't have the C button, and you can't ever chat with your friends without that C button. But I'm wondering, since they're just Bluetooth controllers, if they would be allowed to be used and paired.
I suspect they will, Rob. But yeah, that's one of the first things I'd be testing too.
We're also going to get to some comparison of Nintendo consoles from the past and the cost of what they came out as, and 2025 inflation to see where the Switch 2 stacks up. But the Nintendo Switch 2 may look like its predecessor, but there's been a lot of changes to its features under the hood. The new console
everywhere
has
our eyeballs go, right?
10 times the graphics performance compared to the original Switch, says NVIDIA, which built a custom processor powering the Switch 2. The Switch 2 has got a release date of June 5th, $450 US or $500 US Mario Kart bundle. Okay, so here we go. So anyone who doesn't know what the OLED is, it's this Switch with just the brighter screen and the longer battery life. So here you go. So the Switch was $300. The Switch 2 is $450. Chat, give me your thoughts on that. What do you think about that? Glenn, reasonable? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's expensive. Is it reasonable? I think in a universe where the Switch OLED also exists, you need to have some sort of price point differentiation between them. And I think ultimately it comes down to, Nintendo can make that argument, but ultimately part of this is at least partially because they feel like they can ask this and get it, right? I think the PlayStation 5 emboldened them somewhat as to what is reasonable to ask for a home console. But it's a lot of money, and there's no two ways about it.
Okay, Rob, let's get your thoughts on the initial price point. So we'll stick to, for the sake of this, the US price here at 450 compared to the original 300 price point. Do you think it's reasonable to ask consumers for $450 for what appears to be possibly minor upgrades, or do you think the price is justified?
Well, Jay, I'm sure Nintendo wants me to think 450 is a bargain for a console that's going to last 8 years or more. This isn't just a 3-year console cycle or 4-year cycle with an upgrade and hardware down the road. This is an 8-year, don't have to worry about it later, set it and forget it.
Until they bring
Jump
out
on now
the
and
OLED.
you're set for a decade. Until
You're like,
3 years
yeah,
from
my
now, you get
screen
the
is not as bright as it should
brighter
be.
Switch 2 that looks better, that has a pack-in exclusive with a price drop.
I agree with
2.5 years.
what you said, and I think Cutthroat said the same thing, where I think this should have been a completely different color. That would have been really cool. Like, make it
Translucent blue, translucent
Nintendo
red.
gray or something, like old school Nintendo gray or something like that. That would have been really, really cool.
It looks like the 64.
But it's like the same. It appears the same.
It doesn't
anyway.
need to, though. Again,
So the Switch
differentiated.
one was released March 3rd, 2017. Of course, this one is coming out June 5th this year. The storage. So initial storage for the Switch is 32 gigs, and they've upgraded that to 256 gigabytes, which doesn't seem like a lot considering what I'm reading about these digital cards. I still don't fully understand how those work. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't hate them from the more I read about them.
Just seems like an unnecessary step. So you're going to have a blank card, download it. So that's great, Rob. I can lend you Super Mario World, no problem. But what happens when you want to trade that into EB Games?
You can. They're not tied to your system. That's the nice thing.
Sure. But you're going to go in and you're going to want to buy Super Mario World used. You open it up and it's not the Super Mario World card. It's just a blank card that has Super Mario World on it.
It gives you access to it. It's a dongle. It's something that, computer careers have seen since the mid 90s. It is kind of an archaic way to unlock stuff, but it's better than digital only, where you don't even have the option of trading in or anything like that. It's either out there in the ether and there's zero access to it, or there's at least a tangible thing that you can trade amongst friends.
Glenn, have you seen these?
I have, yeah. I frankly had a little bit of trouble wrapping my head around the concept, if I'm being totally honest. But
it's very complex for me. I can't. Will and I were talking about it too, and it's like, what is this? What does it do?
It's basically like getting a case with a digital code in it, but it's actually a physical cart that goes inside, so you don't have to type in the code. And you basically download the content from the eStore.
You still need the internet. The full game's not on it. And if I want to do OG speedruns of Tears of the Kingdom, I can't do that anymore because I have to download the latest updated version of Tears of the Kingdom, which I do not like. I don't like that.
Now, as far as the full game argument, I think 90% of the time there's an update and upgrade at launch for most of these titles anyways. So you're never going to get the full game experience. And a lot of the games that we've seen have constant, life improvements over time as well. So the concept of a full game being on a card, it doesn't really hold water for me. Not in this age of video games anyways.
Matt says there's a very important piece of info in this chart. The GPU for the Switch 2 will now be made by NVIDIA, the PC graphics card people. They charge $1,000 for a PC GPU now. Interesting.
True. NVIDIA is a huge company. You were talking about the storage. I mean, storage is like ridiculously cheap. I don't know why they didn't go for like a terabyte, given the size of these games. A terabyte card that you can get on Amazon is $100 or less most days. I mean, I know they want to keep the system cost down, but eat the cost so people can have the games on it right away. Like make it that much of a differentiator from 32 gigabytes.
What else we got here? So we have 60 frames compared to 120. I'm not a graphics dude. I don't care about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Sure.
60 frames was narrowly seen on the Switch. I mean, 30 was pretty average at best. 60 frames is standard for PlayStation and Xbox. So max frame rate capable of speeds up to 120. We'll see what televisions can support that. in the future, let alone what games are actually developed that support that.
And we got our screen size, 6.2 inches. Whoa! Compared to the now ginormous 8-incher, baby. For a guy who plays on a
who's
TV,
measuring? Who's measuring?
Size doesn't matter, Nintendo. Didn't you get the
See.
memo?
Here, wait, 8. I thought 8 inches was a lot smaller.
Put
than
that away. You're gonna embarrass us all. Anything else on specs you lads want to touch on?
It's heavier. It costs more. The battery life is significantly less.
Oh yeah, the battery. Yep.
It has 2 USB ports, but one is basically dedicated for the camera. At least that's what they want. They don't want to eat it up. Having the camera use the only one. So you still got to leave one for charging controllers and one for utility. And they're still using a 3.5 millimeter head jack, which I think is really interesting, and not just Bluetooth.
You don't want to get too crazy. You don't want to get too crazy hooking up all this
That'd
stuff.
be way too much for Nintendo to take on. Add
Like,
that
whoa,
that has been abandoned
hold on,
by
buddy.
virtually everybody. And
Hold
make
on,
sure
buddy.
that
We got
can
the
still-
camera going, okay? We got your face on the TV. What else do you want from me right now? Just relax.
You're right. You're right.
Relax. All right, moving on. Switch to his larger original Switch, blah, blah, blah. The OLED is... Any of you guys have the OLED? Anybody in chat? Anybody? You got the OLED? Yeah. Yeah, it was not something I invested in, but Joy-Cons are a little bit larger. I mean, I always saw the Joy-Cons as controllers for the kids. I mean, I personally don't find them comfortable at all. They're very small, but I don't know. It seems to be like most of us get the Pro Controller anyway, which I would have liked to seen a Pro Controller bundle, maybe with Mario Kart. If you're going to charge that much more, just throw in the Pro Controller, man. Come on. But we can see that the price is adding up rather quickly with all this stuff. All this optional stuff, I might add. Yeah, this is just weird to me. Glenn, what do you think of this mouse feature?
Oh, like I said, it's Nintendo doing that thing where they make a new feature that nobody asked for and then hope that everybody's going to think it's God's gift to gaming. And sometimes that works for them. And most of the time it frequently doesn't. And it just becomes a weird footnote in history. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at this. It's hard for me to see. Help me out, Chad. I'm trying to remember the game they demoed, which was like kind of like the basketball game with the wheeled kind of robots. They were basically giving you an excuse to use these controllers in context.
Oh, yeah.
I think Nintendo's always going to find a thing like that to try and leverage the technology and kind of, pitch people on the possibilities of it. But it's hard for me to ever imagine that being the de facto way anybody's going to engage with games on this thing.
I also think like they made the Wii, which is all about motion control. This feels like a step backwards to like force a device on a surface to control something. I don't have the answer. I'm not Nintendo, but this feels like, hey, we're going to regress and go back, a huge step on how we're supposed to control and interact with those kind of games this way.
Shout out, Firewall. I'm glad you enjoyed 64, my friend. That's awesome. Good news.
So far, he's enjoying it. I appreciate the support.
Display size. I can't remember, Glenn, if you're a portable guy or not. I think you were, right? Or are you just chained to the TV
really.
like I am? No? Okay.
Not really. Mostly chained to the TV. I definitely play the Switch in handheld mode with some frequency. Like, I mean, it's nice to be able to fire up a Elatro on that thing while my wife is watching something on Prime Video or whatever, right? But that's about the extent of it. I'm not somebody who tends to take a mobile device with other than my phone with them and play the stuff.
Like I'm going to jump in here on that note because Jay, if you scroll back up for a second, it talked about the screen size and compared it to the more portable Switch Lite, an affordable version that has a 5.5 inch screen. If they're going to make a portable version, make it at-home version, get rid of the screen, get rid of whatever else, and save me the money because I'm happy to say I won't take it on the road, and you can save me, $300 or whatever it is. Give me the at-home box. Nintendo.
Yeah, you know what? You and I have always been that way in all our adventures. And this is not knocking anybody who brings games with them, but you and I are always just like, let's go somewhere where we are, right? Like, it's not that we didn't want to play games, but it's like, well, we could play them when we get home kind of thing, right? We've never really been like the portable guys. Like,
I get it because they're combining the DS and advanced crowds with their console crowds into one unified thing. But if they're going to go out of their way to make just a portable version, then go to your way to make just a console version. Where we don't want to pay for the screen and we don't care about how the battery life on that is or anything like that. Save the money.
I think the argument they're going to make to you though is that it is, that's their differentiating factor, right? They're not going knuckle to knuckle with Sony or Microsoft.
Guess what?
Anymore.
It makes no difference
like
when I'm playing games.
It makes a difference enough to them, I think, is the argument I'm trying to make.
Well, so does their game chat button, right? Like the way they're handling chat in online communities is a differentiator as well, whether they intend it to be or not.
So the RAM and storage, Switch has 4 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM, 32 gigs of onboard storage, and Switch 2 have 12 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM and 256 gigs onboard. Again, like this stuff doesn't really interest me too much. I'm much more interested in the games, and with the presentation that they showed, there wasn't a whole lot, but I think the ones that I did like, I really liked. But the most of that Nintendo Direct was kind of dry for me. And Glenn, I know they showed Metroid finally after like 25,000 years. So you must have been excited for that.
Oh,
Samus has psychic powers now, apparently.
Now I feel like I got to get my my Switch 2 though. That's the bind that I'm in now, right? Is now you wait for the game for so long and it's finally announced to be coming out, but now you get it for both platforms, right? And it's like, okay, well, do I want to get the inferior version for the Switch that I already have, or do I feel like I need to get the new system to play it at its absolute best on this brand new expensive console they're bringing out, right?
Right. Now, price seems to be the big issue. These are all the YouTube videos I'm seeing. Everyone's saying boycott Nintendo. The prices are outrageous. Chat, of course, we want to know what you guys have to say, but we're going to do a little price comparison here.
I'm curious, how much is the price a big deal for you guys? Is it like a full stop, or would you get one at launch?
Shout out to IGN. 100%, June 5th, 100%. It doesn't matter to me.
When?
I'm likely going to get one at launch. I'm not going to pretend there's not some other mitigating factors coming into the math there, but I would. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty dyed-in-the-wool Nintendo guy. Like I said, Metroid's on the horizon. Mario Kart's one of the few things that my wife will actually play with me. So I mean,
well, you got to then. Got to. See, my thing is this: the PlayStation 5 was so expensive. $4.99, 6 something Canadian, if I remember correctly. Okay. The digital one, nobody wants that. Nobody wanted that. People took it if they couldn't get the disc one. Everyone wanted the disc one. So you're talking $600. Why is it okay for Sony to raise the bar so high and everyone just kind of is like, oh, that's okay because it's a PlayStation? And don't give me the graphics argument, because we've already established that the graphical difference is so minimal now, it doesn't even matter. You look at a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 game, maybe you could argue, but for me, it's not that big of a difference. It's just not. So I don't understand why Microsoft and Sony are allowed to charge that, and everyone's just fine with it.
Bigger, more robust titles and licensing
I don't agree with
than
that.
Nintendo. Oh
No.
yeah, their games require the specs to run them. Otherwise, you would see them on a Nintendo console from third parties. So if you want,
they're kind of going back
to do that.
They're going back to their GameCube roots here, trying to compete, which I think is fine. But they haven't been in that game for a long time, trying to keep up with the others. Right? It's nice to see them get exclusives that other consoles aren't getting. But for me, it's always
happy to.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
happy to wait on launch. I do not have any desire to get this at launch. I have no need. I'm going to have fear of missing out come June 5th. But my backlog of games on the Switch is so large, and like we've been saying, the graphical difference is so minimal. I'm not concerned about it. I would rather just keep playing the stuff that I want to play. Let's also not forget Nintendo a week before gave us a whole direct that's dedicated to more Switch 1 titles and everything that's coming out. So unless you want to play one of the new games or the upgraded versions of Zelda, you'll probably be fine for at least a year or two. And at that point, there will probably be a price drop by year 2 or 3.
Rosemary, good evening and good to see you. Good to see you, Tyler. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Mo, if I didn't say hi to you, what up? What up? Yeah, so before we get into this, the big thing here, there's a lot of people in the chat saying, I'm not going to pay $80 for Mario Kart. And the different games they showed seem to have different prices. The big spike being Mario Kart at $80 US, which is probably about $110 for us.
Yeah, it's about that, Jay. Now, there's a difference. There's also going to be a difference on the physical cost and the digital cost, not including tariffs.
There should
not
be.
including tariffs, though. This physical product is going to be taxed wherever it's coming from.
I know.
And to get to Canada, it's going to get killed. So 110 will be light to get away with that. You want to watch digital sales go through the roof?
I was just going to say, you want the final nail in the coffin for physical, you're about to get it, right? If this political stuff is going the way it is and it continues to go this way, yeah, physical will be done because most people are just not going to buy it.
That's right.
They just won't. Matt's on friggin' Twitch and YouTube. Appreciate that, buddy. Matt says Nintendo's biggest strength was always its first-party games. They'll need more to compete with the other consoles.
I agree.
Yeah, except they're not trying.
Yeah. But that is the draw.
It's been a long time since Nintendo has been trying to compete directly against another console. They're happy to have their weird little niche in the corner and have a booming business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking backstage before the show started, and we talked about the closing titles for each generation. So the Wii, we saw Twilight Princess as a closing title for the GameCube and a launch title for the Wii. A few years later, we saw the last Wii U game being Breath of the Wild, and then the launch title for the Switch being Breath of the Wild. This time, as of right now, we don't have that. How do you guys feel about that? We didn't get a proper, and I mean proper Zelda, like an original adventure, not a spin-off. We didn't get a Zelda. We didn't get a Mario. Those are two big ones. We didn't get a Pokemon, but we got a Donkey Kong and a Mario Kart. Rob, what do you think about that?
Those titles, the other titles are probably ready, right? We had Mario Wonder last year. It's only been a year since the last Mario game.
I guess the 3D adventure is the big boy Mario. That's what I mean.
No,
we haven't had one since Odyssey, right?
No, we had Mario. Oh, okay. I see what
you know what, like the 3D, like big 3D adventure.
Yeah.
It's not the side scroller, yeah.
Well, I would take Wonder over Odyssey any day of the week. So when you compare Mario titles, it's just way more fun. So I wouldn't necessarily just split the head in there. Because if Wonder was pushed and launched for the Switch 2, I think it would be an amazing launch title. Good gaming is good gaming regardless of perspective, right? But I think because you're getting a 3D Donkey Kong platformer, which everybody's saying is made by the Odyssey team, and given the time difference between Odyssey's launch and this, I mean, it makes sense that it could be the same team and have a lot of the same mechanics. Again, is it Luigi's Mansion all over again, launching with a DK title instead of a Mario one?
Possibly. Glenn, what do you think about Mario Kart being the big launch game for the system? At least it's not Mario Kart 8. No offense to Mario Kart 8. I'm just saying, like that's
Mario Kart 8 is fantastic.
Yeah,
we're talking Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right? Because it's the second release of it, which I think was also a launch title for the Switch.
So I think it really speaks to the strength of that game, to be totally honest. I think it says more about how well
Mario
the last game. Yeah, I think it says more about how well the last Mario Kart game did than potentially how they're even thinking this one will do. But I mean, I think the success of that game, I think it's the biggest no-brainer in the world to have Mario Kart if you own a Switch.
It's also been 8 years, right?
Yeah, it has given them a great deal of confidence in putting that kind of investment in this as a launch title. I don't want to. I think the other thing you got to keep in mind, Donkey Kong looks interesting. Metroid's on the horizon. There's a certain segment of the population. I still don't have Tears of the Kingdom. That's actually a selling point to this for me, right? Like maybe now's the time to finally pick it up because I can get it for the Switch too, and I can get the visual upgrade too, right? So I think there's an argument to be Super Mario Wonder. I think there's also an argument for some people who maybe haven't played some of these recent Wii releases, recent Switch releases that are high profile. That there's another chance to take a kick at the can with those two. I don't want to. I also don't want to blow past that conversation about the game prices either, Jay. Like I feel like we kind of just ran right by that. I think
we're gonna. That's what this article is about as well. Yeah. So no, please continue. Go ahead. Let's get into it.
And on that point, I think that's 3D World with Bowser's Fury. Again, for the people that didn't play it on Wii U, here's a reason to play it on Switch. To your point,
I am splitting hairs, like saying Hyrule Warriors and Breath of the Wild are both Zeldas but different. That's the way I see the side-scrolling Marios and the 3D Marios, right? It's Mario, but they're different. It's just two different paths. That's all. But we did get Tears 2 years ago, so I'm not surprised. So $80 US for Mario Kart World. Here's my thoughts. Let me just get it out there. I don't care. I'll pay $120 for it. Do you want to know why? Because I know they'll support it out the butt for a decade. It'll be on the next console. It's an investment. It really is an investment. And people are going to poo-poo me. That's fine. I don't care. Just like I'd pay $120 for Grand Theft Auto 6. Video games, out of everything that we're into, have more or less, at least in Canada, been around the same price. They really have. And I have a slide to show that in just a bit here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
definitely a point.
Super Mario Brothers 3, I got for Easter in 1990 with a $99 price tag on it from Toys R Us. And I also paid $129.99 for Phantasy Star 2 from Toys R Us back in the day. So for maybe it's a Canadian thing, but for me, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. And given the quality that Mario Kart will be, it doesn't bother me. That's my thoughts.
I'm not bothered on the individual game costs either. I mean, when you look at the cost of entertainment per hours invested, gaming is by far still the cheapest entertainment option out there. When you're paying almost $20 plus Canadian for a movie for a single ticket for 2 hours, you're going to get more than 4 to 6 hours on the average game for that kind of cost.
Dude, right? And let's talk about our other love, toys, for God's sakes. $50 for a figure. People are still willing to pay that. That's crazy.
Not in Canada. It's over $100 for some of the figures that used to be $20 to $40. Now they're over $100. So you can have a Super 7 Turtles like the ones behind me down here, or you can have a video game.
Glenn, do you think $80 US is too much money for Super Mario Kart World Deluxe Tour Grand Theft Auto? Official title.
Swindle. No, I don't think that at all. Much kind of echoing the points you guys are making. First off, I go back to the N64 games. I was in university when I got my N64, and I went out game hunting when I got that system, and $89.99 Canadian for a cart at N64 launch was not at all unheard of. It was very, very, very common. So, I mean, part of that is the Canadian dollar and just the fact that I think as based on the country, or we're more used to seeing those high price tags on games to begin with. But secondly, inflation has not hit software the same way it has just about every other item that we deal with as consumers. We've been underpaying for video games for a very long time. And I think the complaints that you see about that now are more just based on it's always been that way, so it should still continue to be that way. But I would argue we've been due for a hike in game prices for quite a while now.
Let's also remember that a lot of the people that are saying that also say that they won't pay for music or movies because they pay $10 a month for 2 or 3 subscriptions, and then they're done with it. I think people are just expect things for free.
The same people who don't want to pay for physical music are the same people who now don't want to pay for concert tickets.
That's right.
Because we're systematically removing the means for artists to make money, and they got to make it somewhere. So it's like, well, I don't want to pay $40 for a shirt, and I don't want to pay a couple of $100 for a concert ticket. So it's like, what's left? So yeah, I very much think the market can stand game prices. I guess we're going to find that out pretty soon, but it's been a while since games have needed to catch up with everything else that we deal with.
let me just say, I'm not throwing around cash. None of us are rich by any means. So that's not what the comment's about. For me, it's the amount of playtime and just sheer joy I'm going to get from that title. You know it's going to be good. You know it's going to last a long time. If for no other reason than looking at how long Mario Kart 8 lasted, right? They gave you pretty much every track that ever came out, any racer you'd want. Sure,
Well,
you had to
don't
pay
forget,
for the
though.
DLC, but I don't
There you go.
understand, like, echoing what Rob said, there's this misconception that businesses aren't supposed to make money, which I think is absolutely absurd. Of course you're going to pay for the DLC, right?
Let me ask you this too. Would you rather buy Mario World Kart or Mario Kart World 2 in a year and a half, or just pay like incremental money for the DLC and have that game constantly refined with a live ops team, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is a better way of life coming from a guy who every year bought NHL. The roster update kind of mentality is great, and
The
I'm sure
same
there's tons of
AI.
Madden fans out there.
Our buddy
You know,
worked
like,
on it. He's like, it's the PS2 one has the same AI as the Genesis titles one. We're like,
yeah, it
what?
has all the same code.
What?
It's-
So yeah, I just they're going to add on to it. And to answer your question, I would rather have one title that I build upon over years. It just feels greater. It's like why now we get a Grand Theft Auto every lifetime now, it seems, right? It's just they keep adding to 5 so much that people are irritated by it now. They just want 6. Well, it's like, well, we keep building. I would much rather have one game that keeps building. That's me, though. That's me.
But you'll never have it on a single cart, Jay. You'll never have it on a single cart. You'll only get vanilla Mario Kart World on that little.
No.
That little.
The
tab.
slide I want to do is not in the right format, which is annoying, so I can't show it. But we can do some comparisons here.
All right.
So when the Nintendo Switch 2's $450 US price was announced, it turned heads, giving this a bigger sticker price, so we've come to expect from Nintendo in the past. However, with the rise in production costs and other economic uncertainties like tariffs, analysts did predict the Switch 2 to cost around $400 US at least. Okay, let's go down here and look at the old NES. Who remembers the old NES? I know I remember the old NES. What a time to be alive. What a time to be
Never
alive.
heard of it.
Never heard of them. So the Nintendo Entertainment System was released in 1985 and was sold for $179 US at launch. It sounds like a bargain these days, but if you adjust for the cost of inflation, that would set you back almost $530.
And let's not forget that was at a time when video games were discouraged from the marketplace.
So much so that it was marketed as a toy. Thank you, Nintendo. That's why everyone thought video games were for kids up until about 2000.
I saw that factoid in a movie once. I can't remember what it was called though.
Dendacue.
Yeah. What do you know?
Nintendo followed up in 1991 with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which at the time cost $200 US. It was $20 more back then, but taking into account the initial inflation, would be $460 today. See.
So this is just like the SNES. That's what Nintendo should have led with. The Switch 2,
exactly.
just like the SNES. If you want something as good as the Super Nintendo in its legacy, hop on board, cowboy.
I want to hear from the chat, though. No one, at least that I caught, no one has said anything about why Sony and Microsoft are allowed to do that. And Rob, you gave an answer. I want to hear what you guys think in the chat, though.
Because
it
Nintendo's
just
for
seems to
kids,
be
and
like,
kids can't afford that.
but that's okay because it's PlayStation, right? But
I didn't say
Nintendo
it was
charges a bit
okay.
more, and everyone loses their minds. The
See the Mike
Nintendo,
Tyson's punch out code in the chat.
nice. Average gamer, look at this guy. You want to get your head punched off? Put in that code. Nintendo's big 3D revolution came when the Nintendo 64 was released in 1996, which came at the same $200 price point as the Super Nintendo. However, that's $400 US in today's inflation.
And again, the bigger problem back then was look how expensive those games are compared to a PlayStation game on optical media.
Glenn, you said you were purchasing 64 back then. I know Rob and I used to take frequent trips to EB Games because they had a no hassle return policy. So you could play a game, and I think within 2 or 3 days, you could bring it back for a one-time exchange. And I don't know if Rob bought it or I bought it. One of us bought Rainbow Six by Ubisoft. Was it you? Yeah. We played it because everything had to compare to GoldenEye. Of course, on a console, it did not even come close. So we went and brought it back. But I remember that it was $89.99 Canadian. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty sure I paid 99 Canadian for Turok.
Oh, dude, yeah. The third-party ones were much more expensive. Matt says the price difference is the ability to play more technically created games compared to the hardware needed to play Assassin's Creed compared to Galaxy. Fair.
I will take Matt's point even further and to say it's not just a matter of what hardware is needed to play them. It's a matter of what they cost to make. I think people would be absolutely stunned to completely understand what it costs to make a game in 2025.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what it costs to make Assassin's Creed versus Super Mario Galaxy here, or whatever. You know, what does Odyssey cost versus Assassin's Creed? Are they comparable?
It's probably reasonably comparable, I would think.
Well, we were
Not
talking
to the
about
last Assassin's Creed game. Not to the new Assassin's Creed game.
Whatever. Like pick two franchises, a first party Nintendo versus another one that would only run on a PlayStation hardware, right?
I mean, this
Again,
is
it's
something
not
we were
about tech
talking
specs
about
for me. It's
on
about
the channel,
games.
and this is something we were talking about, Glenn, on the phone, where Spider-Man 2, $350 million budget, Concord with hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, the industry can't sustain that and then expect to turn out a profit. You know what I mean? Something's got to give. That was a good conversation we had. Should have saved it for the show.
You're even seeing situations. God, was it Marvel Rivals where a big chunk of the team got laid off, and that game, by all accounts, is a massive hit, incredibly successful,
smash hit.
Yeah,
and it still can't sustain the jobs that it took to create it
because you have this model put in place by Epic Games, and I think it's a great business model. But now you have this culture of people that think their game should be free.
Yeah, it's called Netflix, right?
A skin comes out, it's Wolverine, Weapon X or whatever. Sweet, it's $19. Well, I'm not going to pay that. Well, you didn't pay anything for Marvel Rivals. Again, people complain about Fortnite skin prices and Call of Duty passes and this and that, but you get the game for free. And I'm talking about Warzone. You get the game for free. You don't have to do any of that other stuff. So I think, Rob, you said something about this earlier where it's just become like people just expect to get this stuff for free now. The notion for paying for this stuff, you're somehow like a sucker. Like, it's crazy to me that it's crazy.
Music is free for $10 a month or whatever it is. Movies and TV are free for X number of dollars a month. At least people aren't downloading stuff like they were before. It doesn't feel that way from like 20 years ago when it was like download everything, nobody gets anything. It became so easy to access everything for such a bargain basement price that it eliminated the hassle, and the industry started to get back on its feet at the cost of nobody wanting to pay full price for an experience that may suck when I could have maybe a lesser experience but have more options for significantly less money.
Glenn, do you think that the Microsoft Game Pass is a good idea for the industry? I'm asking you specifically, and you know why.
I love it personally. I think Game Pass has done wonders for my gaming life. To be totally honest, like I really got out of playing games for a really long time, and I can really chalk it up to Game Pass that I have the ability to play anything at all, and it's because there is that, like, I'm paying for it already, so I get to take a chance on a thing I might not normally play and see if I enjoy it. Like, I discovered Control through Game Pass, and I'm so grateful because I love that game so much. Balatro, Rob was talking to Balatro to me a few weeks ago on the phone, and I had somehow missed the hype train on it, but it's free on Game Pass right now, so I was able to get it and play it. And then I went out and bought it for the Switch so I could play it on both. It's, in that respect, for me as a player, it's been an absolute godsend. Whether or not it's good for the industry, that's really hard for me to say. I mean, I do feel like in terms of Microsoft's gaming future, that seems to be the direction they're going. Like I can see a future where Microsoft isn't making hardware anymore, but Game Pass is still something they're leveraging to get games onto platforms. But I also don't, I'm not privy to the kind of contracts that Microsoft is signing with these companies to make it worth their while to have their game be free on Game Pass either. So
I think you're going to see
value proposition there, and for some people it's probably math that works out, and for some people maybe it's not.
To your point, we both played Indiana Jones over the holidays because it was free on Game Pass, and I probably would have bought it because we all want to play indie, right? And that was cool. Rob, do you think it's good for the industry or bad?
I like it, but I'd like to see a different kind of model, almost like early 90s shareware. I mean, you look at something like Doom, right, where you got a huge chunk of the game where you didn't feel like you were getting ripped off or teased too much. You could still access modding tools and do everything you want. But if you wanted to have more, then you just paid like $20 and you got the full complete game. But you didn't have to. And there was still enough on that, like the initial shareware part, to enjoy it. And, id Software in that case was able to make money and make a lot of games as a result of it and continue to create stuff on the same model. It's like an early example of free to play way back when. And, everybody said free to play will never work, especially with mobile. And then it exploded. Free to play will never work on console. And then Fortnite, right?
I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight on our first episode back from Gamercast since 2017. We are back, baby, every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern. We do have a special announcement at the end of the show, too, so please stick around for that. Okay, the Nintendo GameCube, whose games will be available on the Switch 2 through the Nintendo Switch Online Classic Library, hit the shelves in the year 2001 for almost $400 US. I don't remember it being that much. Oh, sorry, for $199, which is $400, almost $400 today. 2001, that was like a double guitar years ago. That's crazy, man. Remember getting ours at EB Games, and they made you get like 2 games with it. So I got Rogue Squadron and Luigi's Mansion with mine.
I got mine at Loblaws.
Oh yeah, we couldn't find it. Remember? Yeah. Like it was like obviously really hard to get at first. Yeah. Loblaws.
And I just got a Rogue Squadron with it.
I had a pre-sale on one at EB Games, and I didn't make the initial cut for the list because of the quantity that the store got. And we were in a line for a movie, and I got the text message from somebody saying they had a cancellation, and I managed to get one like on launch night just by sheer happenstance.
Right.
I don't remember what movie. What would that have been in like fall of 2001? What would have been the big thing we were lining?
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. also because it ran the Attack of the Clones trailer too, so there was the double excitement. One because it was a new animated film that everyone wanted to see, and because it had the Star Wars trailer. I'm guessing.
I don't know if that was
would have been something Star Wars adjacent. Maybe I'm misremembering though.
You never heard Star Wars? Never heard of Star Wars? Well, let me tell you about Star Wars. Lucifer, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Nathan, you got to make it, man. You got to make it. Got it.
You know what the announcement is, Nathan. If you don't, after 2 weeks with me, you haven't been paying attention.
I remember Software, etc.
Did we didn't have that here, did we?
We did, yeah.
We did?
The Mason, or the Westmount Mall EB used to be a Software, etc.
Oh my god, I don't even remember that. Armando says
got my GameCube
at Kmart with the first paycheck from working. Nice, dude. Very cool. The Nintendo Wii. Nintendo's bold next step after the GameCube was the motion-controlled Wii, which went on to become a global phenomenon. In 2006, the Wii hit the shelves at $250 or $400 today. So I'm sticking up for Nintendo here. I don't think what they're asking is that outrageous. I just don't. I wish it wasn't
this stream brought to you by Nintendo.
That's it. In terms of the aesthetics, what it does, I wish we got something different. But
yeah, again, launch it with a different color. That alone would make me care a little bit more.
Like Glenn said, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Wii U. Oof. Who's a fan of the Wii U in the chat? Who's a fan of the Wii U? This is the hipster one. I got the white one too. It's the lower hard drive one, but
I think I got
Nintendo
one up
wasn't
here
as
somewhere.
successful with the follow-up with the Wii U. Do you have a white one too?
I have a Zelda one, the Wind Waker.
Oh,
one.
okay.
I had a black one.
It was released in 2012 for $300 US at launch, or $450 US in 2025. And then lastly, the Switch, which was $300 or almost $400 now. So there you go.
You know the thing that bums me out the most about GameCube games on Switch 2? That we're going to get the GameCube version of Wind Waker and not the Wii U version of Wind Waker, which was incredible. Wind Waker HD was my entire reason for having a Wii U.
I was curious about that, Glenn. So it's not going to be the HD version. It's going to be the
straight
low def.
port, because
be
it's
straight port of the
GameCube,
Cube
right?
one.
So they're going to just put the GameCube ROM, just like the other ones they have.
But
My
you could use
issue,
the Wii U controller on the Wii, like the GameCube controller on the Wii U for it. Could you not?
I'm trying to remember. I think
Because
for
all the
Smash,
Smash
GameCube
stuff was on
controller
the
for
Wii U.
you could put it through the 4-player thing for Smash. I know that.
That's right.
But he's saying like graphically, it's not going to be the high res one.
It was the high resolution.
But for an extra $25, you
the
can
item
get the
management on the
upgrade.
screen, yeah, that was the best.
My issue with the service that I do pay for, and I've paid for since I had my Switch, is that how slow the games are released for the Genesis, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, 64. Like they come out so slowly.
What's wrong with 4 games a quarter? Okay.
Well, there's about 5 billion games that have been released since the 70s, and I would like
let
to
me
see
ask you
some of
this.
them archived. That would be great.
Let me ask you this: when it comes to releasing like X number of games per quarter, would you be happy with like 20 games released per quarter, but they only have 50 at any given time on the service?
Oh,
So
if they
you're getting
kept pulling
20,
them
they're going
down?
to take a bunch off. They're going to take the least played off.
No, I don't like that whole model. I don't like the Netflix model. I don't.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not a
it's
fan
not-
of it.
What's the Netflix model that a license runs out?
Yeah. So like I always use the example of Saturday Night Fever. It's one of my favorite movies. I was so excited when it finally came to Netflix. And I remember at the end of the summer a couple years ago, it was like Saturday Night Fever's leaving like August 10th, and I got this like panic. I don't like
That's what
that,
allows
so.
filmmakers to make money, though, because they don't give it away for life, because nobody's making any money on any license window. And the
Yeah,
only
I mean,
stuff that sticks around for
that's
Netflix is
fair.
when Netflix makes something, because then they own it. And if they want something, then they have to pay for it.
Which is why it was just great when we could just buy a friggin' physical copy of the damn movie.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't just about Nintendo, ladies and gentlemen. The PlayStation 2 was released in the year 2000. The biggest selling console of all time. It cost $300 US back then, which would be $600 now. We'll do one more, which is the Xbox 360, which was released 2005 for $300 and $500. So there you go. I don't think that, again, beating a dead horse, I don't think what they're asking for is too outlandish. I do not.
Do you guys like the name Switch 2?
It's better than Wii U. Wii U is confusing.
I
I've
could
got no
piss in the
problem with
toilet
it.
and it'd be better than Wii U.
I saw Tyler's comment about how Switch 2 is a lame name. Give us more colors and a different name. And my first thought was, well, the last time they gave a sequel system a creative name, it was called the Wii U.
Well,
So
We need to switch you.
they were actually. I read an article that the dev team was actually considering calling it Super Switch, but they
The
didn't want to
Switch.
have the connotation with the Super Nintendo because the Super Nintendo didn't go online. That's literally what one of the hardware developers said.
Matt says over on Twitch, Wii U sounds like a visit from the police, and I'm not talking about the band.
What do you know about visits from the cops?
Well, he knows.
Wii U makes me think about that movie Kung Pao.
So
Do you remember that?
The what? Sorry?
It's like Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, or whatever that movie was called.
Okay,
I've done
goodbye.
everything in my power to avoid that movie.
It's like an old kung fu movie that was completely redubbed with new dialogue in English. But this character in the movie runs around going, "Wee, wee, wee," and that's what I think of every time I see that.
Oh,
name.
dude, I thought when you said that, I thought Kung Fu Panda with Jack Black. I was like, that's what I thought.
Oh, sadly, it just left Netflix, so I can't watch it.
Damn it! If only we had some kind of player. If only we had some way to
If
own
only
the
Dave
thing.
was
I'm sure
correct
it's
about
funny.
everything.
The cover art is what dissuaded me from not wanting to watch it. I was like, I'm good. I don't like the cover art.
Lucifer says Kung Pao is hilarious. Nathan, the movie
Of
was
course,
amazing.
Nathan loves it.
I'm
He
glad I'm
loves
the only
it.
person here. I'm not the only person here who could say they saw that.
I'm guessing Nathan watched it on Ambien. Just gonna say.
So the question is, chat, are you guys getting a Switch 2 or are you not? Since we've gone through all this information, any other thoughts that we want to go on before we do our big announcement here? Glenn, do you have anything to say? Closing or anything you want to bring up that we might have missed? I think we didn't talk about that the download card that much.
Yeah, the one thing that's a little bit weird, and I've been seeing a little bit of stuff in the news about this, and I'm not sure how much of it's actually verified, but just how they're going to handle the Switch 2 editions of the existing Switch games. Rumor has that those are just getting packed with the standard Switch carts, and then there's a one-time update code included in the packaging that would then enable you to get the bonus material. So not 100% sure how I feel about that.
Well, if you look at PlayStation, they were doing that for free for many of their titles for a long time. They gave you the free upgrade, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I love tiers. What is it, $10 to upgrade it? Like, I don't know.
We talked about some of the launch titles, but we didn't really compare it to other launch rollouts. Do you think this is a strong rollout? It has the second biggest rollout next to the Game Boy Advance for Nintendo with 23 titles, some of which are reboots and new ports, but a lot of games that are already out there, but not for Nintendo owners.
Well, let me see if I can find it. You guys can chat. Let me see if I can find the launch titles.
Also very excited to hear that apparently the Switch 2 is going to be the first console to get Hades 2.
Yep. That's what I heard.
They're going to be the first console outside of PCs to get Hades 2, which is actually pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited.
And Silk Song is Hollow Knight Silk Song is an exclusive as well, I think. Or time.
We got that lame tech demo. That's like what Astrobot did, but it's like lamer, and they charge you like
have to
$10
pay for it.
It's dumb.
Or like Switch 2 Tour.
Yeah, it's like who's gonna play that?
That seems a little narcissistic. Let's pay to watch how great our system is, and we'll tour you around it. Like that should be like a free thing.
Like Astrobot was installed on the PS5. Like you got it for free. It's like here it is, right? But okay, let's look at the shout out to IGN again. Let's look at the launch games. Lineup so far: Mario Kart World, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. See, come on. I guess we can count that stuff since we did for the original Switch, but come on, man. I don't count that stuff. Oh yeah, there is Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour. Split Fiction, Cyberpunk. There you go, Matt. Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition. So they're getting a lot of older games. Street Fighter 6. Civ was at 7. Hogwarts Legacy. Glenn, they're getting a bunch of games that have been out for a few years because now they can run it. Good thing, bad thing.
It would be nice to see if Hogwarts Legacy actually runs on the Switch too, because it did not do well on Switch.
I mean, I think it's fine, honestly. Like to be totally honest, I think the Switch is a pretty solid system. I think it does a lot of things right. Really, the biggest complaint I have about it is it needed more going on under the hood, right? It needed more horsepower. So if you sold me a Switch 2 that basically is that, it's kind of hard for me to argue with.
Right. I just wish I could get an expansion pack.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I wanted the system to be in the first place, right? So
just an add-on for it. Yeah.
I'm firmly in their target market, I guess. I don't know.
Most of these games I've already played, and I understand that's a me problem, but nothing's really sticking out apart from Mario Kart. Really, not a huge Donkey Kong as a character fan. So the Donkey Kong single games have never done anything for me.
You'll play it. You're gonna play it.
I'm not paying $80 for that. No thanks.
Well, you'd pay $69.99.
Mm-mm. When's the last Donkey Kong game I
$59.98.
bought?
Donkey Kong
The arcade game
64?
on the Switch. It was for $10.
You like Donkey Kong 64?
No, I do not.
Yes,
No, I
you
do
do.
not.
What?
Just like you like
When's
Banjo.
DK? When is DK supposed to ship? It's not on that list.
What the
In
hell's
July.
Banjo?
It's just after lunch, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Metroid,
so-
I would assume, will probably be closer to fall.
Bravely Default, Yakuza Director's Cut, Hitman, Nobunga's Ambition, Survival Kids.
Rune Factory, Puyo Puyo Tetris. Yeah, there's again
Like
a lot of stuff
nothing
that's already
really
out.
big for me, but
If you somehow avoided the Switch over 8 years and haven't played some of this, or were looking to play some of these titles on a Nintendo console, here you go.
yeah, it's not great. It's not great. One of the weaker launch titles, but they could maybe announce something in May. Who knows? Who knows what they're holding up their sleeves? I don't know. But I'm gonna try and pre-order it. I got a couple ins I'm gonna try and get one with. So, but with everything that's going on with these tariffs, who knows? We're allowed to pre-order, then the next day we're not, then we are, then we're not, then it's $300 more, then it's $500 more, then it's the same price. So
Yeah,
who knows?
I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store. Not to segue to the toy stuff again, but
Sure.
they said that the pre-order price will increase up to as much as 40% of the advertised price with tariffs.
Yeah, your Thundercats are gonna cost $150 each.
Yep.
More like Thunder Cash, am I right?
Thundercat.
Hey, meow. Watch out. This kitten's got a whip.
Any last thoughts on Switch 2?
Switch off.
How switch off? You've been a great audience, guys. You've been a great audience. We do have one last thing before we go. Again, we're coming at you live every Wednesday at 9:30. We, the three of us, are called Gamercast. Glenn, I don't know if you want anyone getting a hold of you, but that's Glenn Stanway. You guys know how to get a hold of Rob. His all his links are in the description of the live stream. Rob, would you like to segue in? And don't say what it is until the picture comes up. But would you like to segue into this?
Well,
Bit
I
of a
don't know when
story?
the picture is coming up. How am I going to stall?
Well, you say, okay, now.
Oh, so I throw to you
Yeah, go.
and I don't
Go.
stall.
The announcement
And
starts.
action.
As you can tell, this
Now.
is live and so well rehearsed, everybody. So it's been several months since the Nintendo 64 Quest premiere happened in London, Ontario on November 2nd. Discs were made available in January. So many of you, as we saw a few people in chat mention, that you finally got a hold of it. You've been able to watch all 14 episodes, and the feedback has been incredible. Our rule for doing stuff is always, we can't do another quest. And a lot of you have reached out saying, hey, do this quest, but we just can't do another quest until we get to the point where the previous one has made money and we can financially take that risk and get all the right partners on board to make something like that happen. So between the premiere, the Kickstarter costs, the additional legal costs of getting it out on disc and putting it out there, it's a huge mountain to climb. That said, 2 weeks ago, we started low-key production on the next quest. Super Nintendo Quest is coming at you. Filming begins proper soon. 30 days, 717 games, no online purchases as always.
Let's go.
And this time it's a little bit of a different spin on what's going on. Of course, we're still doing it for charity. We're still going to do it in support of Alzheimer's, because what better way to preserve the past than to celebrate gaming of the past and use our passion to help those in need. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I never thought another quest would happen so quickly, but literally the support that you guys have put out there to get behind it, and you continue to get behind it, we can do more with it. So please go to Nintendo64Quest.com, order a Blu-ray while they last. There's less than 100 of our 3-disc versions, and I think there's 20 DVDs, and then that's it for that. is we're focusing on this quest to complete the trilogy, as they say, to fill that missing gap. So it's coming
So
at you.
Everyone who was saying Super Nintendo since the Nintendo Quest came out, you're finally getting your dream
Getting
come
what
true.
you want.
And Rob and I are super excited to be able to start shooting this hopefully this year. Yeah, I got the call just on the weekend. I got the call. Jean Paul. I was like, all right, I'm in, buddy. Let's do this.
There it is. You know, we wanted to do Virtual Boy Quest. We wanted to do 2600 Quest. We thought about Wii U Quest. But then we took into account what everybody has been saying for over a decade. And we did a little poll on our Kickstarter. What would you like to see us go after next? Not actually ever thinking we would get to this point anytime soon. And we even discuss it in N64 Quest. And we've discussed it with Glenn as well as a recap. And the funny thing is, it's going to be super challenging for Jay and I because this is not a quest that we wanted to do off the cuff. That's why we did 64, because we have so much fonder memories and so many reasons that we liked it. But we think that this is going to represent the greatest opportunity to do good for Alzheimer's. And when you see why that is, what is motivating this, what we're going to do to kind of get the games and flip it, then you'll understand. So I have no idea what to expect. There's going to be a lot of learning on my side. I'm sure Jay's going to brush up as well from his wealth of knowledge that he usually carries around, but it's game on. And I don't know the episode count that it's going to be. 14 surprised me for 64. It will be an episodic thing again, not 90 minutes like Nintendo Quest. We may split it into seasons. The plan right now is to do different regions 5 days at a time. So 5 days in Ontario, 5 days in like Chicago, 5 days in northeastern US, 5 days southwest US. Kind of just pick 5 regions and do 5 days, or 6 regions, 5 days each. And then boom, that's your 30 days.
Shout out to Nathan, who's on the team as well, who's been here the whole time, and he made it to the big announcement. Did you ever consider TurboGrafx Quest? Just wondering, Rob.
We consider everything. We considered 3DO Quest. We considered CDI Quest. We considered Game Boy Quest, DS Quest, GBA Quest. Like, we considered everything. And it ultimately came down to what you guys wanted to see and this unexpected curveball that was thrown our way that really kind of cemented what we were going to do. And you know what?
I think it really came down.
It's not the pick I would have made, but it's the greatest pick to do the most help, which is what I care about. It's not about what I love. It's how much help can we do for those in need. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, for this third one, I think it would have been this or Genesis were the two ones it would have came down to. But this is great. I mean, this is, like Rob said, the trilogy, and can't wait to get on the road again with these crazy Sons of Lips and hunt for some super tender tapes. Super tender tapes this time.
Stan Buck, what do you think?
Exciting times, my friends. It's a long time coming, right? This seemed like, I think, to a lot of people to be the obvious follow-up to Nintendo Quest. So I think a lot of people are going to be really excited to see that it's finally happening. And I, for one, am really intrigued to see what the story is this time out.
As are we. And we got a couple more surprises that Rob and I have, but we're going to save that for another time. But we can't wait to get on the road again. And we're going to wrap up here. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Again, we're live every Wednesday at 9:30. We're going to have a number of different topics usually, but the Switch 2 is just too big, so we dedicated the entire episode to it. If there are any topics you guys want us to talk about, make sure you get at me or Rob and let us know, hey, talk about blah, blah, blah. And we can certainly make that happen. We'll let Glenn sign off first.
Guys, this is a hell of a lot of fun. It's been a really long time. Jay, every time you said 2017, I felt myself aging in real time. It's like a lifetime ago.
Remember that table? Sitting at the table in the money tomb?
Oh, the incredibly small table. Yeah. It's good to be back with the trio once again. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to doing this.
The big tiffer, the big hero, the award winner, the man, Mr. McCallum.
It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to this weekly onslaught of information. casual, friendly debate, and just getting to know every one of you out there, and a great opportunity to keep you all in the loop with everything that we're doing, especially since we just announced this. That's going to be fun to say. Oh, and by the way, that we're not quite done yet. One more thing.
And I'm Jay. Thanks for hanging out on my channel, guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning for some Resident Evil remake. All right, friends, have yourselves a good night. Love ya.